The boulder's over his conflicted feelings, and now he's ready to bury you in a rock-a-lanche.
Hey you geeks! Netflix's Avatar the Last Airbender has dropped, and it might actually have some great moments. Is it as good as the original? No. In 2008, I definitely barricaded my den doors so that I could watch the Season 1 marathon on Thanksgiving Day, whereas this show, designed to be utterly bingeable, I paused it a few times intentionally, and frankly, had I not had to make this review, I probably wouldn't have binged it at all. I mean, it wasn't Ember Island bad.
That wasn't a good play.
I'll say. No kidding. Horrible. You said it.
But there is still room for improvement, and I feel completely validated for complaining that they tried to make Aang a proactive, mature protagonist. So here are my 10 thoughts on the first season. Some will be complimentary, and some will be constructive criticism. Spoiler warning, of course. Number 1, shipping. We all know that this is the most important thing for me about Avatar the Last Airbender, and, you know, ditching Shaka's chauvinism was actually a good call. It made his chemistry with Suki feel that much more real. And then his awkwardness around Yue was just perfect.
I mean, yeah, that's what I thought, but no, you're ordinary. Not ordinary, because that wouldn't be good.
I also like that Sokka's entire finale arc wasn't based around a love triangle between him, Yue, and what's his name? As for the big three, Aang, Katara, and Zuko, well, it doesn't seem like the show was that interested in reigniting the great first shipping war of the internet age. I don't even think Zuko knows Katara's name by the end of season 1.
You learned me tricks. But I didn't come this far to lose to you.
Besides, Katara still likes her bad boys. So overall, I must say that the shipping of Netflix's show is adequate. Number 2, Sokka. True to the original, Netflix's Aang is still not my favorite character in Avatar the Last Airbender. In the original, it was Zuko. But now, I gotta say, Sokka has just eked him out. Because Sokka really begins as the unwilling protagonist and total stick in the mud.
Tara, no. There's no way you're getting me on that.
For it's Sokka's self-doubt, leadership skills, and daddy issues which are so organically explored in the series. And over the course of the season, it is his dramatic growth in accepting that his baby sister has grown up and can take care of herself as one of the biggest character arcs.
Katara, do you remember back at the Southern Air Temple when you said we had to go with Aang? That we had to help him save the world? You were right.
Also, Ian Osley's little forehead crease just perfectly captures Sokka's character. Like, you see that crease and you know he's about to unleash a whole can of
Meat and sarcasm.
what do you know? The character who is dragged on the adventure against their will is the one most relatable to the adult audience. Yeah, I love this new Sokka. I'm just kind of sad that not all characters transitioned quite as well. Number 3, Bumi is dead.
Dearly beloved, we gather here to say our goodbye.
Frankly, on my list of things they could totally cut, the King of Amashu was one of them. The only reason to have Bumi in season 1 was to be Aang's old friend who showed him that he could bear the responsibility of leadership in his child-friendly, ingenious way.
You must master the 4 elements and confront the Fire Lord. And when you do, I hope you will think like a mad genius.
But I can't stand Netflix's decision to replace this icon with a bumbling cynic.
You have to save the whole world. Let it fall, Aang. And learn what it means to be the Avatar.
Now, having Bumi be a weak king and allow for the disruption that we see in the Earth Kingdom across multiple episodes infect the city of Omashu and allow Sokka and Katara to have their own side plots, in theory worked, except for I still don't understand what the royal mechanist was doing living in the lower portion of the city. Not to mention, Jet's operations as a freedom-fighting terrorist group within Omashu made Bumi's leadership seem so cartoonishly incompetent in a way that the original show never reached, and it was a Saturday morning cartoon.
Protect the king!
Please ignore the teenager clearly up a tree with a flaming arrow pointed at the king. That's not suspicious at all. It took me a moment to realize why I found Bumi's design so off-putting. He's almost a dead ringer for the Grand Vizier of the Tizeric in C.S. Lewis's The Horse and His Boy. You know, the Tarkans who are unflattering stereotypes of the Ottoman Empire. Which seems like a weird choice for Netflix because they went out of their way to be culturally sensitive, as they should be, in this adaptation. But oh my gosh, that turban, I can't even. Number 4, sights and sounds. Okay, now for something positive. The cinematography and soundtrack of this show went hard. The costuming, the pigeon rats, the bending, all belong to the world of Avatar, and I'm here for it. While some shots did suffer the cleanliness of modern filmmaking, they did take the effort to dirty the frame when bending. And the cinematography just leaned into that classic Roman and cowboy films that form the cultural basis on which Avatar the Last Airbender exists. Just look at Zuko walking into a tavern! Ugh. Not to mention that recycling the whole original soundtrack, I think, was brilliant. As a kid, hearing this in Avatar the Last Airbender filled me with such wonder that I remembered it. And as a teenager going to French camp, in the camp store, I found this and discovered it makes the Avatar sound. So I bought it and kept it because the strange and the fantastic are what makes fantasy shows memorable. And Netflix has done that with the soundtrack. Sometimes they let the strange become a bit too unruly. Number 5.
I got no rules, I count 'em.
We sort of lost the vastness of how big this world was. Sure, they show us maps and tell us.
Roku's temple is in the Fire Nation. It'll be a dangerous journey.
Then they showed Aang flying on his glider by himself from somewhere in the Northern Earth Kingdom to Roku's Island, which may or may not be in the Fire Nation for all we know. That could be possible, but
Everything's gonna be fine.
June? June made it to Roku's Island? I guess her Shirshu can.
My Shirshu can smell a rat a continent away.
Sure, that cutscene showed her tracking Aang, but she was in some woods somewhere. Nary a boat foreshadowed. Did Gyatso's words of wisdom just bend the time-space continuum?
Time is a funny thing.
Then, in Masks, Iroh warned Zuko about going into the Fire Nation, as if being outside the temple didn't put him there already. The only payoff of this world-building inconsistency is that Zuko wears a mask when he paddles up to the fortress like it's no big deal. I know there were budget constraints, but when making these cuts, could have they kept some world-building consistency? Number 6. Where is Zuko's honor? Netflix's Zuko is great. He's got that rough, aggressive side.
Open fire! Now!
That protects his vulnerable inner heart of gold, which we see drawn out in his relation with Uncle Iroh and scarred in his relationship with his family and his father. Yeah, adding the Azula plotline, I think, was a good idea to better streamline the series as a whole. And they showed the Fire Lord in a way that made him utterly contemptible.
Azula, stop playing games.
I'm not the one playing games.
This is your last chance. Fight or fail.
So this was an adaptation gamble that, unlike other non-existent shows, paid off. Yet for all these positives, I'm somewhat baffled by changing Zuko's mantra to being strength before weakness? Or something like that?
Sometimes the weak can become stronger. Sometimes you just have to give them a chance.
Yeah, I've gone through the show a few times now, and I don't think they mentioned the word honor once. Now, I believe Chinese cultural speakers like Jiren Zhejiao when she says things like,
nobody in China talks about honor this much. Though I think it's just a case of awkward translation, because if you translate it as face instead, as in you'll make the family lose face if you're late, then everything sounds right.
But it also acknowledges the importance of face in Chinese culture, and I would love for the show to have made Zuko's plot line about regaining his face.
Evil as plain as the scar on his face.
This is Zuko's honor, and it is iconic.
Wait! What's that? I think it's your honor!
Where?
But if it was abandoned in the name of not perpetuating Chinese stereotypes, then I'm fine with that, for the people's sake. Number 7. Poor kid. Underplaying Aang's immaturity in the beginning was a very weird character choice, especially when they could have started with him playing airball, but instead they decided to do this. Now, I know that the writers must have dug very deep into Avatar lore to give us things like Kuruk's backstory and the Mother of Faces, so they would know just how many rules Aang flying unaided would break.
It's over, Zahir.
Let go your earthly tether.
Release the Avatar.
Enter the void.
This is your last warning.
Empty and become wind.
And they broke these rules to further the point that Aang is an airbending prodigy, which makes it harder for the audience to relate to him. And especially when he has character-defining monologues early, we need to feel it in a way that the first episode just doesn't land. I know that Gordon Connier did his best in portraying Aang, and I think the error is more in the writing, giving him so little to work with to portray so much so early on. For once we get into knowing Aang and seeing his little childish moments, we can really appreciate more of his struggle being the Avatar that he wants to be versus the kind of avatar everyone's telling him to be.
Run away from your responsibilities again, and even more will be hurt. Being the Avatar means putting your duties above all else, even your life.
Thus, Aang's character shone brightest, not when he was the mature, proactive Avatar, but when his plans got foiled and he had to react to save his friends. Number 8. Full of hope. I suppose I should say something about Katara. Oddly, Sokka's lack of sexism flattened her arc since she did not have to begin as hostile and angry after putting up with that stuff her entire life. Instead, she was a cool, calm, and collected, though scared, little waterbender.
And if Dad were here...
But he's not here. I am.
I did like that the show combined her waterbending block with the trauma of losing her mother, but the show only acknowledged like one of her outward signs of her inward struggle. The fact that she's wearing her mother's necklace the entire season goes unremarked upon. She has one conversation with Jet. Next episode, she's basically a master already.
Ice discs? That's new?
Then Aang rescues her from her trauma with Ko the Face Stealer. And then Pakku just tells her that she's a master, though we could see from the excellent animation that her bending was inferior to his. I wouldn't have objected to a short training montage. Number 9. Easter eggs and fan service. Someone in the writer's room was definitely tasked with providing optimal fan service and Easter eggs to the original fans. They applied the rule of 3 to the iconic Cabbage Man.
My cabbage!
And after tantalizing us for minutes, we finally heard the iconic
Secret tunnel, secret tunnel.
Along with sort of homaging both the original season and Ember Island players in Zuko's tavern scene.
But the Avatar, that's what those pirates said. No, it wasn't the pirates. It was that canyon guy. He said Avatar fought off some canyon crawlers with the help of a couple of waterbenders.
I did mourn the loss of Foaming Mouth Guy, but his sacrifice was worth it to convey that Kyoshi was very isolated, as isolation is clearly a problem in this new Avatar world, and they did a great job of establishing that. My reading buddy found Kyoshi taking Aang's place to whoop some Fire Nation butt a great homage to how Aang got a firebending teacher in The Deserter, while also paying homage to Aang in Winter Solstice Part 2 and even the Avatar Day. It just worked on so many levels that I wish they could have done that more in other episodes. Number 10. Finale. Now, Season 1 may have stumbled a bit on their journey to the finale, but in the finale, they went hard, and it shows. They gave every main character an important plot moment, which was wonderful. Aang got his moment of being crushed by responsibility that he had to bear alone.
These people need the Avatar. And I can't be the Avatar with you around.
Katara's fight with Zuko was excellent on what was clearly a budget. Zuko deciding not to try and capture Aang when he's gone full kaiju was a sign of character growth, as early show Zuko would not have shown that level of self-preservation. Though of course he still has to challenge Zhao, because that is Zuko's character now. lashing out in anger to show he is strong, but then his inward compassion prevents him from striking the killing blow. Fortunately, we still have Uncle Iroh here to watch Zuko's back. I almost expected Iroh to thank Zhao's burning corpse for the tea, but that would have been a bit out of place. Unlike Sokka could have been the designated mouth breather of the finale, but no, his non-action scenes were weighted through emotion as he sees his creation being used by the enemy. And then the show took its time to acknowledge that Sokka wasn't bashing heads in the season finale and that it was okay. It wasn't what he needed to do.
You don't have to be a warrior to be a hero.
I gotta admit, seeing Aang go full kaiju makes a lot of the sins of the earlier episodes more forgivable. That being said, this show still hasn't reached fantastic for me in my tier list. True, it's better than Percy Jackson, which was also good and also nearly fantastic, but it's just missing that extra spark to put it into that next tier. The original series is still gold in my humble estimation, but with this strong of a start, Netflix could maybe reach fantastic in season 2. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks for watching. Bye!